I'm making this video primarily for Pete of Cedric and Ada. Some other people may see it. Um, I would probably, this is going to be a cut test. I would probably just integrate this into a longer video where I describe what's going on. But for Pete, I'll just do the cut test. This is the Spydero Serrata in cast 440C. Hopefully it'll focus on that. Come on. Not going to. This is a 19-degree bevel, 250 grit, 19 degrees, and then about 15-degree micro bevel at 400 grit. Is that right? Yeah, 400 grit. Both pretty soft stones, aluminum oxide stones, the cheap giveaway Edge Pro stones. I've got a glove on. I've got about 1,500, maybe 1,800 cut tests with this thing. Really nice handle, not hard on the hand, but I've got a big blister going on right here. I just don't want to do that anymore. So I'm going to try to not aggravate it. So anyway, let's jump in and see what this thing does. Oops. Let me get to 10. There's 10 cuts. I forgot to show you. It appears to be somewhat sharp. So this is interesting. So it cuts paper pretty well. It does not want to cut the short side. It'll cut the long side, but I think this edge is, the grain in this steel is so toothy, it does not want to cut, well, so it just cut and made me a liar. So I've been struggling with this all day. It generally does not want to cut the short side of the grain. I can show you better with phone book paper. I'll cut the long side. Does not want to cut, and it's going to cut the short side. Now I'm a big liar. Okay, all day long, I just can't get it to cut the short side. The grain in the paper is different, but it'll cut the long side. So I've been seeing this all day long. Well, not all day, but for the 2 or 3 hours I've been at this. So I'm cutting this way. Okay, now it wants to cut. I'm a liar. Oh well. Maybe this edge is slightly sharper. I don't know, but it's all day long I've been cutting the long edges of paper, not the short edges, so we'll see what it does. Okay, there's 80. 130. It's 170. Make sure I'm getting in this range. It's getting a little grabby right about here. It wants to catch on the paper, but it's still cutting quite nicely. $210. Probably should have stopped at 200. See here, it doesn't want to cut the short end. It's getting close to done. We might be done. So you may call this done. I think it still has a little life left in it, and it seems to be catching up above where I'm cutting. I don't know if I got a dull spot on the blade, but it's iffy. I think we're getting close. Some paper. So it's stopping. It's stopping in that third mark about there, which is not where I'm cutting, which is kind of interesting. I think we're done. So I'm going to call that done. It's still pretty close, and if I worked it hard, see, it's stopping right at that marker above. The most of the area I was cutting through is still cutting fine. So I'll stop it here and call it 230. I had one go to 280 earlier today, but I wasn't videoing then. So don't know if I did a crappy job of sharpening. It's still cutting fine in here, and honestly I think it has some life left in it. It's stopping up here, but it feels like if I keep going it's cheating. But anyway, I got close to 300. I said 280 earlier, and 230 for 440C is just not bad. And it's, as you know, this is still sharp. I could still take this outside and work with it for a while. You'll notice my super high-tech cutting board. This is leftover cedar from when I was working on my deck over the summer. That's why it's stained. This thing is cutting the wood. I'm sure it's because of the weight of the blade, but it's cutting the wood much more significantly than the other knives I use. So this stuff, the bite into wood is pretty significant. Anyway, I just wanted to demonstrate this does seem to have much better edge retention, and I suspect with a little more experimenting and maybe a little more effort put into the edge, I could probably get closer to 300. So not bad.